Oh, crazy! I can't believe we're here in Egypt. Thieves? This must be the temple for the priest of Amen. Whoa! Man, what did I get myself into again? At least we're away from those mummies. What a view! Wow! Huh? Junior Genius, we solved mysteries. Professor Thomas speaking. Yes! Miss who? Miss Bua-loy? Sure. I'm not sure if we can rescue her, but we'll try. I'm a little out of reach right now. Let me call you back. Okay, bye. This number, right? Yes. Kids, it's our next assignment. We need to rescue Miss Bua-loy. But let's figure out how we can get down from here first. Kids, hey, over here. Over here. Hey, we have our new assignment. We have to fly out to the country of Laos. There, we're going to go to the Elephant Refuge Center and try and find Miss Bua-loy. She needs our help. Let's go. Kids, I'm here with an update. We're back in the Genius Lab. Miss Bua-loy is a famous elephant from the country of Laos. According to the man that called us, he said that Miss Bua-loy has some special itchy rash on her back. She needs some help. It's driving her crazy. Imagine if you're a 5,000-pound elephant and you have a scratch in the middle of your back and you can't get to it. She's running away, she's knocking stuff over, she's angry, she's grouchy, she's trying to scratch her back. So, in the lab here, I've put together a few chemicals, and we're going to make a beautiful herbal scrub. You know, it's made out of calcium sulfate, a little bit of sulfuric acid, and a little bit of 1,5-anhydroribitol. So, we're going to mix our concoction, then we'll fly to the country of Laos, into the capital, Luang Prabang. From there, we don't have the greatest directions because the guy that gave us the phone call said, you'll figure it out when you get there. So, let's get started with the concoction. So, the first thing we'll do is we'll use a little bit of sulfuric acid. Now, not much, because we don't want to burn the back of the elephant. Now, keep in mind, an elephant's back is pretty leathery. So, this will break through the first few layers of the skin. Okay, we have sodium carbonate. Add it there. Next, potassium iodate. Oh, this is going to be great. She's going to be feeling awesome. No more itches, Mrs. Bua-loy. And final touch. And there you have it, kids. The special concoction. Let's fly out to the country of Laos and see if we can help out Miss Bua-loy. Wow, check out this taxi. Buffalo. I think that's like a big mud hole. Cool. hear that? That doesn't sound like Bua-loy. Sounds like a male elephant, not Miss Bua-loy. Let's get out of here. Shh. Did you hear that? Bua-loy. Bua-loy. I heard something. Let's go up that way. Whoa! You see that? It's a huge barricade. Let's get out of here. Hey, we're not looking for bears, we're looking for elephants. Bua-loy. Miss Bua-loy. I hear her. Up that way. Hey, look, check it out. It's the elephant village. Bua-loy. That doesn't sound like Bua-loy. Hey, look, there's another elephant over there. That doesn't sound like Bua-loy either. Hey, look, there's another one over there. Bua-loy? That sounds like a male too. Nope, that's not Bua-loy. Hey, there's another elephant over there. Bua-loy. Bua-loy. That sounds like a male as well. Hey, wait! Bua-loy? I think that's her. Yeah, kids. Bua-loy? That's her for sure. Look on her trunk here. You see that? It's an itchy rash called eczema. She's trying to scratch her back. Look up here. Lucky I mixed some solution in the genie slab before we came. Don't worry, young lady. We'll get you taken care of in no time.
Finally glad to meet you. Awesome.
Hi, Professor. Nice meeting you. I'm sorry, I must have missed you when you arrived.
Hey, no problem. We got everything taken care of with Miss Bua-loy here.
Tell me something. How on earth did you figure out which one of the elephants was Bua-loy?
Well, Bua-loy's a female, and I simply used my ears, and when I heard the male elephant, I knew that wasn't Bua-loy. I simply used my ears. Wait. Did I say use my ears? We might have to analyze that statement back in the Genius Lab. Kids, let's head back to the Genius Lab and analyze that further. Patrick,
It
my
was nice
pleasure.
meeting you. My pleasure too.
Bye.
Kids off the beaten trail. Lesson number 19, use your ears. We're going to veer away from the grammar rules just a tiny bit in the beginning here, and then we're going to double back and then use them in a different way here. So first things first, sometimes the rules that you learn don't actually help you get the correct answer. You can get it down to 2. Sometimes you can only reduce one of the answer choices by using the correct rules of grammar. So what we have to do is go rogue, go off the beaten trail and use our ears. A couple things to keep in mind. A person wrote the sentence, so when they wrote the sentence, just like you do when you write papers, you say which sentence version sounds the best, which sounds correct. All right, so keep that in mind. If it sounds weird to you, the author of that sentence probably would also think it would be weird if they put in one of the different versions of the underlying portion. All right, some tips that we can use as we double back to our grammar rules. We're going to, number 1, try and reduce the sentence. Now, the logic on this is this. If you have a long sentence and you use your ears are going to have to do a lot of work because they're going to have to listen to a lot of words. So what we want to do is reduce the length of the sentence so your ears don't have to work as much. All right, a couple things that we'll use here. Number 1, we'll use the dot comma to reduce the sentence. We'll use abandoned boxcar, comma, which is going to deal with an independent and a dependent clause, and we will use mummy wedges, which deal with prepositional phrases. We can go ahead and cross out stuff that's not relevant to the underlined portion. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 3 different versions here. A, we use dot comma. All right, here's our stock sentence. Shri uses pencil to draw cool robots. You see that we have a dot comma. The definition of a dot comma is 2 independent clauses that are linked together that have some type of relationship. All right. The underlying portion is in the second part over here. So if we simply crossed out the first part and focused on the second part and used our ears. Dhruv uses pen with sketch people. Well, right away you see that that doesn't really make sense. Here we're using pencil to draw robots. So over here Dhruv uses pen to sketch people. You see how we use our ears? Cross out the stuff that's not relevant to the underlying portion. Dot comma, kids. Cross out the portion of the independent clause that's not relevant to the underlying. B, abandoned boxcar. Abandoned boxcar deals with 1 comma and 1 comma. You know that we deal with an independent clause and a dependent clause. The definition of a dependent clause is to give you more information about the word that sits right before the comma there. So this doesn't necessarily need to be in the sentence. You could just simply look at the second part and see which makes the most sense and sounds the correctest when you're looking at the word right before the comma, or vice versa. You could cross out the dependent clause and look and read up to the comma. Let's go ahead and take a look at this example. Near the Mekong River, I saw several young manots. All right, that's an independent clause. Here's our comma. Then the definition of a manot is a boy elephant handler in Asia. It's a boy. All right, so if you look over here, this is a definition of a manot. But here in the underlying portion, it says several and a boy. So this is singular and this is plural. You see how we have to change this to make it make sense. I saw a young manot. A manot is what? What the heck is a manot? I don't know. You look right to the right of the comma and it should give you the definition. It's a kid elephant handler in Asia. Make sense, kids? Remember, use your components to help you use your ears. Let's go ahead and take a look at the last one. Mummy wedges deals with prepositional phrases. Prepositional phrases are just like those dependent clauses. They're non-essential information. The ones that we're going to use here: mummy wedge in, mummy wedge of, and mummy wedge with. Those are mummy wedges. What
a mummy wedge does is start a prepositional phrase and gives you information that's non-essential. All right, let's go ahead and start with the back one. With all the jungles. Okay, with all the jungles is more information about what comes right before Laos. Laos has a lot of jungles. Okay, of is mummy wedge. It gives you more information about the country. What country? Laos. In the country is more information about Bua-loy. You see how we can cross all this out? When we do, now this sentence should still hold water and be complete. Miss Bua-loy grow 5 centimeters per day. Well, you see right away here, that doesn't make sense. Miss Bua-loy grows 5 centimeters per day. When we take and put the mummy wedges back in, you see how grow and jungles goes together? You think the jungles are growing together, but really this is just a mummy wedge that can be crossed out. Remember, mummy wedges are things that you can cross out that are non-essential information about the noun that precedes it. Kids, let's go ahead and take a look at some practice problems to illustrate these 3 concepts. Remember, we're going to try and reduce the sentence however you do it. Dot comma, abandoned boxcar, and mummy wedges are 3 ways to reduce a sentence. Kids, let's do a few problems together. Let's take a look at problem number 1. So number 1 starts here and ends here, the sentence in question, and here is the underlined portion. All right, so why is it that we are so completely obsessive with the hair on our heads? Techniques that we can use. Mummy wedges, see it? On our heads is prepositional phrase, gives you more information about what? The word that comes right before hair. That's a noun. We can cross it out. Let's read it now. Why is it that we are so completely obsessive with the hair? See how it's a little bit shorter and easier to read? Wait! See that? With. That is another mummy wedge. Let's go ahead and cross that out. With the hair. When we cross that out, this still completes sentence. Why is it that we are so completely obsessive? Okay. How does that sound? Let's try B. Why is it that we are so completely obsessed? That sounds okay. Answer choice. C. Obsessing. Why is it that we are so completely obsessing? That sounds weird. Answer choice D. Obsessioned? I'm not even sure if that's a real word. Let's try it anyways. Why is it that we are so completely obsessioned? Get it out of there. Now, we've got it down to 2 answer choices here. We used our ears to get it down to the right 2. I personally have a preference. However, we're not quite sure if obsessive or obsessed. Now we have to go back to our rules. Here in answer choice B, we have ed, which is going to be past tense. Over here, obsessive is present tense. All right. In the sentence at hand, we're not sure if this is past or present. So what I did is I came back over here and I looked at the next sentence. It says millions of dollars are spent. Spent refers to the past. So I am going to lean towards answer choice B. Let's take a look at problem number 2. Problem number 2 here. Here's the underlined portion here. Where is the beginning of the sentence? Whoa, way up there. And where's the period? Here. You see, when we use our ears and read all of this, that's a lot of work for your ears. I see over here there is a dot comma. 2 independent clauses linked together with some type of relationship. So that means this underlined portion is in the second part. Millions of dollars are spent each year on cutting hair, lengthening hair, bleaching hair, straightening hair, curling hair, lightening hair, and even growing hair. I just crossed that out. Now, let's go to the second independent clause. A when you know the definition of a dot comma, you know that whatever you put in here for 2 has to make this a complete sentence. Number 2, this complete sentence that you make with your correct answer choice has to be closely related to the first independent clause up at the top. Does that make sense? And 3, it's less work for your ears to listen to. Let's go ahead and take a look. Whatever you can do to hair, someone is willing to pay the money to do it. Okay, that's no change. Answer choice G. Whatever you do to the hair, someone is willing to pay to do it. Both of these sound okay. This has pay the money or pay. Most people pay with money, so razor blade tells us F could be crossed out because of razor blade. See the logic? Let's go ahead and take a look at the next answer choice. Paying with money. Okay? Paying with money, that's redundant. And then answer choice J, have paid. Now let's read it and see how it sounds with our ears. Whatever you can do to hair, someone is willing to have paid to do it. Out. Use your ears. Cross out the answer choices that sound weird. But the most important thing to get out of this mini lecture and going through problems with me before we work on our own is to make sure that you reduce the sentence by A, getting out dot commas, independent clauses, dependent clauses, and prepositional phrases using mummy wedges, kids. Let's take a look at the final example to illustrate the concept of use your ears and reduce the sentence length so your ears have less work to do. We'll illustrate this with practice problem number 3. Number 3 is located here. The beginning of that sentence is right here, and the end is here. Here's the sentence. Natural redheads long for to be brunettes and dishwater blondes dream of shiny golden trays. If I pronounce that correctly. All right, first thing I do is I see that there's a mummy wedge here. I can go ahead and cross that out. And now that sentence is reduced. Natural redheads long for to be brunettes and dishwater blondes dream. Okay, less work for our ears. Hey, wait, and what if we cross this out? This should still be a complete sentence. Natural redheads long for to be brunettes. Okay, so that sounds weird. Okay, A, out. B, to have. Natural redheads long to have brunettes. That doesn't make any sense. Use your ears now that the sentence is shorter. C, to be. Natural redheads long to be brunettes. Like it. Let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice D, becoming for. Natural redheads long becoming for brunettes. Doesn't make any sense. It sounds weird. C is the correct answer. Kids, you see what I just did here? What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and work on the next problem, is problem number 5. I'd like you to go ahead and pause the video here. Use the same similar technique and look for commas, independent, dependent clauses. Cross out the dependent clause if needed to shorten the sentence. Second thing is, if the independent clause is what we're looking for, what you can do is you can look on the other end for a definition in the dependent clause. If you see a dot comma, the first or the second part can be crossed out since it's unrelated to the underlined portion. And finally, mummy wedges, in, of, with, and so forth. We can go ahead and cross out those mummy wedge prepositional phrases to reduce the sentence length. Pause the video here. We'll work on 5. I'll come on back in a minute. All right, time to work independently. We're going to work on 3 problems this time, 6, 7, and 8. Pause the video here. We'll come on back with the answers in a few minutes. All right, so if you look at the problems that we've selected, 6, 7, and 8, you're going to see that there's all kinds of traps on here. I'll show you some real crafty ways around the trap, so be aware of what I talk about here because you're going to see it again and again. All right, here's problem number 6, and if you see 6, 6 is at the top of the page. This is a very common trap, trap 1. That means the beginning of the sentence is on the previous page, and most kids will be too lazy to flip back. So it is important that you go back every single time to the previous page. Here it says the beginning of the sentence is right here. It says as a mature. All right, we're even going to write that in. All right, so here's our sentence. And let's go ahead and write that in. We'll abbreviate it. So we have as a, and then we'll abbreviate mature with an M. Okay. As a mature woman, watching the gray hairs mixing in rapidly with my natural brunette tones, I decided over a year ago to approach my stylist with the idea of highlights. Here is the end of the sentence. Super long. You'll notice that it's 4 lines long. Okay, and on 2 pages. So right away, the trap is 1, kids don't look back. 2, here, in order to answer 6, we have to kind of skip 6 and go to 7 first. So let's do that. All right. In problem number 7, we already noticed that there is, in the non-underlined portion, there is a comma here. That means from the beginning of the sentence to here has to make sense by having an independent clause. Okay. Then the second part here has to be a dependent clause, and that dependent clause is going to have something to do with what we talked about previously. Okay. If we use 2 commas, then that's Mr. Chung. So we've got 2 commas, and 2 commas is a comma splice, which means we can cross out what's in between them, and whatever we cross out should actually give you like a little mini definition of the word that comes right before it, which is going to be a noun. All right, let's start with that. So if you look here, if we use 2 commas, okay, and we cross out 2 commas, the sentence A should still make sense. Let's go ahead and see if that works. As a mature woman, watching the gray hairs mixing in rapidly with my natural brunette tones to approach my stylist. Okay, you see answer choice A with the word to. That doesn't work. It violates Mr. Chung, so let's get rid of it. Down over here, you see answer choice D has a comma after the word to, so let's put a comma in there. That means that that's going to be inside the double commas, so it could be crossed out. So let's read it now. As a mature woman, watching the gray hairs mixing in rapidly with my natural brunette tones, approaching my stylist with the idea of highlights. You see Mr. Chung, violation again. We'll cross that out. Okay. Answer choice C is a dot dot, and a dot dot is very, very similar to having a dependent clause. Okay. We have a list, an explanation, or a direct quote. So in here, if you were to go ahead, let's go ahead and clear that screen and put in a dot dot after the word ago. Okay, let's put it there. Here's a dot dot. All right. So A, I love DQ according to the rules that we've seen with Mr. Ogu in the cosmic double dots. Is this a quote? There's no quotation marks, so no, it's not. Is it a list of stuff? No, it isn't. And a year ago, is this a description or like a little mini definition of a year ago approach? No, my stylist? No. A year ago is 365 days and X amount of hours. That would be like a little mini definition of a year ago, not this. So that is going to be a violation. C is out. All right. That leaves us with answer choice B, no comma. All right. Now that we have B selected for problem number 7, we can go ahead and get rid of this comma. We can trace in the comma here, and we can go ahead and put in from the previous page part of the sentence that's missing. It was as a mature. Okay. Then problem number 7 deals with this part of the sentence. We've labeled this already dependent clause, and this is an independent clause. Since the independent clause is dealing with 7, let's simply get rid of it, cross it out, and that's less information for our ears to listen to. Less work. As a mature woman, watching the gray hairs mixing in rapidly with my brunette tones. See how that sounds, okay? As a mature woman, gray hairs rapidly mixing in with my natural brunette tones. Okay, so here is the question. Is it rapidly or is it mixing? We need to understand the components of the English grammar first. Gray hairs is the noun. What are the gray hairs doing? They're mixing. That's the verb. Nouns and verbs. Okay, rapidly is giving you more information about the way it's mixing. It's giving you more information about the verb, and therefore more information about a verb is called an adverb. All right. you see that we have a mummy wedge. A mummy wedge, the job of a mummy wedge is to give you more information about the noun, not the verb. See that? We can cross out answer choice F, and we can cross out answer choice H because of that. Let's clear the screen. So, rapidly mixing or rapidly mix into. Now let's use our ears. As a mature woman, watching the gray hairs rapidly mixing in with my natural brunette tones, or as a mature woman, watching the gray hairs rapidly mix into with the natural brunette tones. That doesn't sound right. G is the correct answer for 6. 7 we've already said was B. Let's move on. We'll take a look at practice problem number 8. Problem number 8, kids, abandoned boxcar. That tells us that we've got independent, comma, dependent, or vice versa, dependent, comma, independent. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this problem. If you look over here, here's the underlined portion for 8. Beginning of that sentence is way up here, and the end of the sentence is down over here. You'll notice that we have a comma after route. So let's read the comma and stop and label it. Having seen many of my peers go this route, that's a dependent clause, so we know that the correct answer here has to produce an independent clause in the next portion. Make sense? Second of all, dependent clauses are non-essential, so if we cross this out, it's less work for your ears to listen to. Let's go ahead and plug our answer choices in. I figured that this highlighting was for to be the answer to my reluctance to look my age. Sounds weird. G was being. I figured that highlighting was being the answer to my reluctance to look my age. Sounds weird. Use your ears. H could have been. I figured that highlighting could have been the answer to my reluctance to look my age. Sounds a little bit weird, long, and answer choice J says was. I figured that highlighting was the answer to my reluctance to look my age. J is the correct answer. A couple reasons it sounds best. 2, answer choice J is shorter, and answer choice H, C, could is different tense of the future. Answer choice J for problem 8. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to zap on, we're going to finish off the last batch of problems. It's problem number 12 and problem number 17. I'd like you to pause the video here, work independently. We'll come on back in a minute or two with the answers and explanations to those problems. Problem 12, the correct answer here is J. Here's what I did. I came up here, I saw that there was a comma here, and it says Donna was surprised at my suggestion. Cross that out, that's an independent clause, we don't need it. We see that here's a fan, boys. So we know that what comes here has to be a complete sentence, all right? If you cover this up, quickly began sharing my unbridled enthusiasm as she gathered the appropriate chemicals and concoctions that would soon transform me. It's a lot of work for my ears. We've already made the sentence a little bit shorter. I went ahead and crossed this out as well. All right. Quickly began sharing my unbridled enthusiasm as she gathered the appropriate chemicals. All right, less work for us. Then I came back up here and I saw the word began, and I started thinking about tense. Begin is present. Began, I've already began, so that's past tense. So I know that what I put down over here should match that. Let's look at the answers. Here, ed, that's past tense. Gathering, had been, gathering, that's too long. She was gathering, that's the wrong tense, and she gathers, that's the wrong tense. These two answer choices could be clustered. I chose J because it's shorter, sounded better using my ears. The rest of it was simply using tense. Let's take a look at problem 17. Problem 17 is very similar to something we've seen before. Practice problem number 6. Remember, we had the noun, verb, and the adverb associated together. Let's go back up and look at 6 again. Remember, here we had the sentence that said a mature woman watching the gray hairs, which is the noun, mixing is the verb, and rapidly is the adverb. The adverb rapidly modified the word mixing. Why? Because mixing is the verb. Here is the adverb, and this is what the gray hairs are doing. They're mixing. Let's go back down to 17 and see if we can use something similar in this position. Here, if you look at the sentence 17 starts up here and will end way down over here with hot fire. You'll notice that there's a comma there. All right. So blacksmith is the noun, and we see here practices is the verb. All right. Still is going to be the adverb in answer choice 17A. In B, we have continues, which is a verb, and practice is a verb. There's a double verb in both of these. You see that? So we have to ask ourselves, what is the one that's most relevant to the blacksmith? Is this sentence about the blacksmith continuing, or the blacksmith practicing the fine art of metal? So you see right away, the blacksmith is going to practice the art. So continues is before practice. That doesn't make any sense. The most relevant verb should be closest to the noun. B and C get that wrong. Cross them out right away. Now we're left with the answer choice A and D. Let's use our ears and see which one sounds better. When we come back over here, let's start crossing some stuff out. Of manipulating metal over a fire, that's a mummy wedge. We can cross that out. So if we were just to read it regular, we can see that it should still make sense as a complete sentence. Walter Lee is an old-fashioned, modern-day blacksmith who still practices the fine art. You see that? When you cross out that mummy wedge, it's still a complete sentence. Okay, so now let's just go ahead and plug in A and D and read up to art and see which one sounds better. Walter Lee is an old-fashioned, modern-day blacksmith who still practices the fine art. That's A. That sounds okay. Let's take a look at B. Walter Lee is an old-fashioned, modern-day blacksmith who practices still the fine art. Use your ears, kids. When you do, you're going to see that you trust your gut. Actual human being wrote these sentences, and to them, it sounded correct. Just like you, when you write papers, you select words in a certain order that sound the best. Answer choice A for 17. Kids, Miss Bua-loy. How the heck did I find her through the woods? How the heck did I find her from all those other elephants in the elephant village? I simply trusted my gut and used my ears. I knew that Miss Bua-loy was an elephant, and anything that sounded like a male elephant was definitely not Miss Bua-loy. Answer choice 17A is the only one that sounds the best.
Kids, train your instinct, go with your gut, and use your ears to select the correct answer choice on testing. Thanks for watching episode 19.